and welcome to everyone joining us on Facebook Live. Welcome to Northern Kentucky History Hour. We will get started in just 1 second, get our screen ready. And it looks like it's time, so it's my pleasure to welcome you to Northern Kentucky History Hour. I am your host for tonight, Mary Jane Calderon, joining you from my office at the Behringer-Crawford Museum. Also joining me by Zoom is our presenter for this evening, Bridget Striker. Also joining me is my assistant for this evening, BCM Service Associate, Heather Cook. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Northern Kentucky History Hour is a project of Behringer-Crawford Museum, Northern Kentucky's History Museum, that would not be possible without support. Thank you to all of our sponsors, including the City of Covington, Kenton County Fiscal Court, ArtsWave, Kentucky Arts Council, Northern Kentucky Sports Hall of Fame, and our members. If you're not yet a member of the museum, please consider joining for access to discounts and exclusive programming. Learn more and join at bcmuseum.org. Now let's learn more about tonight's presenter. Bridget Striker is an accomplished preservationist with extensive experience in historic preservation, community development, and cultural heritage. Currently, she serves as the Preservation Planner and Historic Preservation Officer for the Boone County Planning Commission, where she collaborates closely with the Kentucky Heritage Council and Boone County Preservation Organizations. Bridget has a deep background in public history, having directed the Boone County Archive and History Center and coordinated local history initiatives for Boone County Public Library for 2 decades. Additionally, as a published author and sought-after speaker, she has contributed to academic and public platforms covering Boone County history and genealogy, as well as the Ohio River Valley. She is also the regent of the Boone County chapter of Daughters of American Revolution. Bridget's leadership is recognized by multiple awards, such as the 2021 Movers and Shakers Innovators Award by Library Journal and the 2018 Community Empowerment Award by the NAACP, as well as a Best in Class Award in Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation from the National Association of Counties. An experienced grant writer with over 100,000 in awards, her projects have received grants from the Library of Congress and the National Park Service, among others, underscoring her role as a transformative leader in historical preservation and community engagement. So welcome, Bridget.
Thank you for having me.
Now, a quick reminder before we get started. We love participation from our viewers, so please leave any questions or comments that you might have in the chat or the Q&A feature, and we will be sure to get to those at the end of the presentation. Now for trivia. The first person to answer the trivia question wins a Northern Kentucky History Hour prize and, of course, bragging rights. So tonight's question is, which territorial governor is associated with the Gaines Tavern in Walton, Kentucky? So go ahead and get those answers in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll go ahead and get started. Bridget, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Thanks for having me today. It is wonderful to be here. So let's get started. From Rabbit Hash to Walton, Boone County's historic buildings. One of the things that I really want to look at with you all is how to turn this really into a little bit of a driving tour. You can always come and spend time in Boone County. A lot of people don't realize how much history is in Boone County and how deep that history is and how much of it you can explore. We are in an easy day trip of Cincinnati, and we have, I said, over 10 destinations, and we're really going to talk about 9 tonight, but really you could spend quite a bit of time exploring Boone County. And of course, we have nearly 43 miles of riverfront, which is the longest river frontage of the Ohio River in Kentucky, is right here in Boone County. So anywhere you turn, you can go down and see the river. So I'm hoping that you all will be inspired by this talk tonight. As you can see, we're going to travel back through history. One thing I do want to mention is that if you do come to Boone County and you do go to Western Boone County or a little bit farther out, make sure you have a full gas tank, because once you get past Union and Hebron or Burlington, there really isn't any place to get gas. We really do get rural quickly, and it's very scenic. We are going to, by the stars, you can see that we're going to be looking at several places, all of which are open to the public. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that they were accessible to you, and it was someplace that you could visit either as its own destination or along the way. Usually when you're on the river, it will take a few hours to get from one end to the other, but it's well worth the trip and it's beautiful. But first, we're going to start in Burlington. And Burlington is a historic district. And let's talk a little bit about it. Burlington itself is the county seat of Boone County, and it was established in 1800. And it was John Hawkins Craig and Robert Johnson. They were both at Bryan Station together. Also both served under George Rogers Clark, and they had land here in Boone County, thousands of acres actually. And what they decided to do was, when Boone County was established, they came together and they both decided to donate land together to become what was then Craig's Camp, which for John Hawkins Craig. And then they renamed it Wilmington. And then they figured out that the name Wilmington was taken as a post office. So they renamed the town Burlington. Burlington is unincorporated, so, which is kind of unusual for a county seat. But it is unincorporated, so it's part of Greater Boone County. It doesn't have its own city council or anything like that. It has been incorporated a couple of times over the years, mostly for sidewalks and other types of public projects like that. But it's currently unincorporated. And so it falls under the jurisdiction of the Boone County Historic Preservation Review Board. We are what is called a certified local government here in Boone County, and that is served by a preservation board or commission, as they're known in some areas. You'll know Covington has one, Newport has one, Lexington, Fayette County has one, Louisville, Jefferson County has one. We're the only one, though, that is just strictly countywide in the state of Kentucky. And so all of the historic sites fall under our purview. We have over 1,600 historic structures, 220 historic cemeteries, 590 archaeological sites, 6 historic towns, and the 1 historic state historic park that all fall under the umbrella of Boone County Preservation. So as we're moving through these areas, really anywhere you go, you're going to see something historic here in Boone County. Here in Burlington, we're very proud of what's Jefferson Street, and that's what you're seeing on the screen now. And it includes the Taussie House Tavern, which is a phenomenal restaurant. We have the Marion House that houses an antique shop. We have Washington Square. We have Zozo's. We have the historic historic courthouse. The historic courthouse, it is the 3rd courthouse on that location. Our first one was built right around 1800, and it was basically a log cabin. Then our next one was built in 1817, and then the current one was built in 1889. Even though we've had a series of courthouses, we've never had a fire. Knock on wood, we've never had a fire. So our records go back, our county records go back to really 1799, when we became a county. So established as a county. So we're very fortunate to have all of those records. If you come into town, the oldest structure you'll see in town right now is what is Washington Square, which is the Joseph Graves house. And that dates to 1817, and it's a brick structure. Then Towsey House isn't very far behind. I believe it's 1822, which started off as a house for Erastus Towsey and became various uses over the years, including a store. What they had the store on the first floor, and then on the second floor the family lived, which was very common back then. In Burlington, you can see a lot of different time frames in town, including your your bungalows, your little Sears bungalows dating into the 1920s and early 1930s. Those count as part of your National Register. The National Register District does include the old courthouse, most of Jefferson Street, parts of the area back towards the cemetery. It's a beautiful walk through town. I do it every day. It has mostly government offices and businesses. We do have residents also, so it's what we call a multi kind of use community. And it's a beautiful place for you to visit, and we encourage you to come. It's right outside town is the fairgrounds. So we just had our county fair, and our 250th event, our countywide event, which was last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago. It's been a long week. And there are various events all during the year, including a light show in the winter around the holidays. And then in the summer, you have antique shows and craft fairs and things like that, also at the fairgrounds. So I would encourage you to come visit our restaurants. They're fantastic. But also several of these businesses, and of course the fair, they have Facebook pages as well. If we go north, so if you look up in the upper corner, you'll see kind of where we're going. So we went from Burlington and we're traveling up towards 275. And if you get off on the Petersburg exit, you will see the Boalsburg Baptist Church. And the congregation formed in 1794. It's considered one of the oldest continuously operating churches in the region, and they have service every Sunday. And they're a lovely congregation. They really are. The photo here dates from 1897, and it shows the original section of the church. And if you go out to the property, you can see the original section, and then they built onto either side of it. Sometimes if there are people there, they'll let you come in and they'll let you see the sanctuary inside. But they have a fantastic cemetery, and so you can just wander that cemetery. If you like cemeteries, we have plenty in Boone County. And so I would encourage you just to visit the property and look at the cemeteries in this case. This is the second church site for the congregation in 1794. Soon after, if you're familiar with the North Bend area of Boone County, you will see like McGlasson's Farm up there and things like that. The original church was there, and it was in the floodplain or near the floodplain. And so at around 1818, this sanctuary was finished, and they moved up the hill to here. And in this photo is pretty cool because in the background you can see Ohio. They're on Garrison Creek, and Garrison Creek actually dumps out right across, almost directly across from Shawnee Lookout and the Great Miami River. So it's very close right there in that area. One of the things that I wanted to mention is this church is associated with Jeremiah Kirtley, who was a part of the Revolutionary War, and his son and his grandson, I believe, served as pastors for over 70 years in the history of this church. And so the Kirtley family is monumental in keeping this church going for as long as it did. Several of Boone County's Baptist church kind of are daughters of this church, including it was Middle Creek Baptist, which is now Bellevue Baptist. San Run Baptist is a daughter church of this particular membership here, and so this church represents the founding fathers of Boone County. Before Boone County even became Boone County, right? Because it was established in 1798 as Boone County. We had our first meeting in June 1799, and this church had already been around 5 years by then, right? And we have records for this church going back that far. What's valuable about these church records in particular, and they're at the Boone County Public Library, is that they included enslavement records. So they had enslaved membership as part of this church. Many of the Baptist churches in this region did, but the records for this particular church are meticulous. So you have first names, enslaver information, you have information of if somebody was excluded, if they died, all that information. Now, the exclusion records are very important because if for freedom-seeking activities. So the Underground Railroad, they of course were a slaveholding church, but they did have a lot of freedom-seeking activities of members who were seeking freedom up north into Canada. So, in one story in particular, I don't know if you've heard about this one, the Cincinnati 28. So, a lot of people hear about the Cincinnati 28 from the Ohio side of it, and in particular, College Hill, who helped the enslaved as they were escaping Boone County. But it was, I believe, April 2nd, 1853. It was right around the time of Easter services. 28 individuals got into 3 flatboats or skiffs and made it across the river. And they basically came just east of the Great Miami and walked up what is now Route 50 into Cincinnati. And Levi Coffin and others from the Underground Railroad were able to help them. And they actually, because it was daytime by the time helpers got to them in the woods just outside Delhi, they had the Freedom Seekers pose as a funeral procession, an African-American funeral procession, where they literally moved up towards College Hill out in the open in the daylight and pretending to be part of a funeral procession. It's amazing how this worked. We figured it took about 16 days for them to make it up into Canada. They did make it into Canada. They lost a young child. An infant died before they got to College Hill, sadly, very sadly. But we know a lot about the families through documentation from College Hill and other people who discussed the escape, which is something that we didn't know about until about 2013. And so, and this church played a pivotal role in their escape, and it's something that we'd like to explore further. And we talk about on the library's Underground Railroad tour every fall. Okay, we're going to move west down the river, not that far, but a little bit, into Petersburg. So, Petersburg is going through a bit of a renaissance as far as their history is concerned. They've established their Petersburg Historical Society. It's brand new, established in 2024, and their first project, under the guidance of Tom and Karen Seitz, who own another beautiful historic home just up the hill from here. And this is the Jonathan Carlton house, or also known as Schramm's Tavern. It's interesting because, like most older homes, at least in Boone County, but I suspect in the region, what they did was you started off with a simple log home or core in the back of the building. And then as you had more money, or somebody purchased the property and they wanted something a little bit more grand, they built this grand house onto the front of what was essentially a 1 or 2 story log cabin. And that is what we had going on with this house. So the back part of the portion of the house that you can't see, that does include a root cellar, is much older than this front portion, which dates to about 1825. This building is now open. If you go on Facebook, you can see all sorts. They have game nights. They have all sorts of social events for the community, but they're encouraging visitors, and they're encouraging people to join the Historical Society as well. One of the things that I really want to mention about this house is, so you have a man named John Grant who established Petersburg, and he was the nephew of Daniel Boone, right? Daniel Boone was never associated with Boone County. Boone County was named Boone County because Daniel Boone was leaving the state. He was moving west towards Missouri, and we were the next county to be established, and they, in his honor, they named us Boone. But we do have some of his family and some of his descendants, and some people he was associated with who settled here in Boone County. John Grant had a ferry here in what became Petersburg. It was originally known as Tanner Station, and then and it was named Tanner Station after the Reverend John Tanner, who established basically a fortified house here on the banks of what became Petersburg. And he's best known for his son, John the Falcon Tanner, who back in 1789 was captured by Shawnee and taken north towards the Ojibwa in northern Michigan. Young John was misbehaving. His mom told him to go play outside, but stay close to the house. He, of course, didn't listen because he was misbehaving, and ended up in the woods farther away from the house, the fortified house in the woods, and ended up being captured. So, you move forward another 10 to 14 years, 10 years, and then you have John Grant establishing a ferry in this area. It's directly across from Lawrenceburg. It's kind of, if you look at Lawrenceburg and Aurora, Petersburg kind of sits in the middle. So you've always had ferries on both sides going to either one of those little cities. So it was a popular destination. Petersburg also was well known for its distillery in the 1800s. So a lot of people would come across the river a lot to work here as well. But John Grant had a ferry. I suspect that the log home that is attached to this, because its proximity to the riverfront and where those ferries were that ferry was situated, that original ferry, that may have been part of John Grant's original ferry house. So you had a lot of activity with that. George Brasher, who was a slave dealer and catcher pre-Civil War early on. So you're talking about that 1820, 1830 time period, was really capturing enslaved and holding them here in Petersburg. And he owned this particular property. And there is a root cellar, like a cellar that's really, people have asked me if I want to go down into it. I'm like, no, that looks like there's snakes down there, so no. But I don't do snakes. But anyway, and so we believe that he was holding captured enslaved, freedom-seeking enslaved here at the house. There's pretty strong circumstantial evidence of that. But in the 1860s, this was known as Schramm's Tavern, and it was pretty rowdy. It was the more notorious of the two tavern hotels in town. The Loder House was the other one, which was much more of an establishment that people would like to stay at. This one was considered very rowdy, and had possibly a house of ill repute. Yeah. So there was definitely some activities going on. Lewis Loder talked about some of the activities that were going on in this house in his diaries. It was kind of the place to be in Petersburg when you got off from work at the distillery. But it is owned by the Petersburg Historical Society. The whole town is fabulous, and they've really done a great job of updating it. I would encourage you to go down and visit. There is a small store where you can get refreshments, things like that. You cannot get gas, but you can get refreshments. The Loder House is down there. They have a great community center with a park and a picnic area. The library is open at certain times, but right now they have on their poles throughout town, they have their veterans displayed. So they have panels with all their veterans on them with American flags. And they just had their Hometown Heroes event a few weeks ago. I would go down and look. It's beautiful down there. They do also have, just a side note, the entire town is built on a Native American village, for an ancient village. So while you cannot see any artifacts or anything like that at this time, I'm trying to encourage them for some of the private collectors to kind of donate their collections back to the Petersburg Historical Society. So some of that can be displayed, and we can do some panels and help them with that. It's beautiful down there. Well worth the drive. Okay. The James Dinsmore Homestead. Now, for a very long time, I would say since the 1980s, probably the Dinsmore Homestead has been the most well-known of Boone County's, one of the most well-known of Boone County's historic destinations. And it's definitely a destination on its own. It really is a snapshot of life in rural Kentucky, of you know, a well-established family who they were enslavers, but they did own quite a bit of property, extending quite far down towards the river. And they had, at one point, they had a vineyard. They had sheep. They did a lot with basket making. So they were an employer in the area. So it was built in 1842, and it remained in the family until the 1980s. It's been a historical museum and educational center since then. They're in the process of finishing up their educational center. That's received some mixed reviews, but they're hoping what they can do is, people like to have weddings at Dinsmore and things like that, and they really didn't have a venue for larger events. You know, they didn't have potties. You know, so if you went down there and you went to an event, you were using a portalette. portlets aren't super duper fun. And so really, you know, I think the intent of the new Heritage Center or the Educational Center is to really elevate the experience for people who want to spend time down there. And they're also moving their offices to the new building, which is important because you have both Julia Dinsmore, who was a daughter of James Dinsmore, and she lived in the house until she passed away in, I believe, 1926. And when her father died in the 1870s, from the 1870s until the time she passed away, she ran the farm herself. You know, she never married, so she was a single woman, basically running a fairly successful farm. And at what, again, at that time was rural Kentucky. The family was well established, though, nationally. If you go there, you'll hear about their connection to Teddy Roosevelt. One of James Dinsmore's, I believe, granddaughters married a couple of the Rough Riders. And she in herself became very successful and ended up the first female congresswoman in Arizona. So the history of this whole house is phenomenal. Harry Roseberry was Julia's black farm manager. And so off to the side, you will see a house called the Roseberry House. And right now that house is basically housing their offices and their gift shop. I believe, don't hold me to this, but what I've been told is that they would like to do something regarding their black heritage, and they're both their enslavement and the tenant farming heritage after the Civil War. They would like to do some exhibits and things like that. If you go to the site, they're open really most weekends. They charge for their house tours. They're not that expensive. I feel like they're $7 or $8 per person. I could be wrong. The house has so much valuable information. They are guided tours through the house. There is a log kitchen out back, a cabin that was converted to a kitchen, and all sorts of historic buildings. The library did put up a African American heritage experience panels out back, using money from the National Park Service through the Network to Freedom, which is the Park Service's Underground Railroad Initiative. And so you'll see several panels related to the history of the Black experience on that property. And if you're interested in a hike, the whole house property is connected to county property. So you can hike, and it's a fairly easy hike. I mean, it's not flat, but it's not too bad. Up at the top of the hill, you'll find the historic cemetery as well. I believe the last burial in that cemetery has been in the last 5 or 6 years. So the family is still interring family members in the cemetery. But you can go up the hill. It's walled and you can visit it. It's beautiful. I believe they have a patch of running buffalo clover up there as well. So it's a fantastic destination just on its own. Rabbit hash. So I think probably due to Don Clare, who was on the Boone County Historic Preservation Board for decades, and he was one of the founding members. You know, there's always been the Rabbit Hash General Store. This photo was from 1935, and the store is very much like it is today. The whole town is. So this predates the 1937 flood, though, right? So the flood topped this building, but it stayed put. Back in early on, what the townsfolk did was they knew that, because Rabbit Hash floods all the time. What they did was there was an iron worker and he created potbelly stoves down there. And what he did was he created these gigantic links, chains that are anchored into the bedrock underneath that store. So that store is anchored into the bedrock. So whenever the Ohio River rises, the store may flood, but it's not going anywhere. And so the whole town is kind of really seeped in flood history and the river history. So the town was established about 1814, at the same time as its sister city, Rising Sun. I mean, as much as the relationship between Rising Sun and Rabbit Hash can be contentious, they really had quite a close relationship, right up until just about the Civil War. Um, and and there was a lot of traffic between the two areas. And there was, at one point in Rabbit Hash, if you wanted to get your mail, you had to go to Rising Sun, which was very common in these little towns, because your closest neighbor was across the river. And remember, the river was never as high as it is now. Below this store, under the river now, is a baseball field, right? They used to play baseball down there because until the Markland Dam came in, the river was never this high. In fact, prior to 1923 to 26, when the smaller dam systems went in, you know, the river would freeze in the winter and it would dry up in the high summer. So it was very easy to get across the river, in this area. There was a lot of, it is a National Register district, and it's a local landmark district. So it's one of the only two local landmarks in Boone County that has extra protection on it through the Boone County Historic Preservation Board. The Underground Railroad activity, there was a lot of Underground Railroad activity associated with the whole area. One story in particular was Jane Stevens and Felix White, and that was about 1847, I think. And where a famous conductor and abolitionist came down from Michigan, and she herself tried to extract a family out of Rabbit Hash, the Rabbit Hash area, from the Stevens family, and she was unsuccessful. But she wrote about it in her memoirs. One of the things that we need to talk about with this building is, of course, that it caught on fire in February 2016. I think there was a short in the Coke machine, like the cooler, and it burned. It burned almost down. So what we all did was we all got together, the county, the Rabbit Hash Historical Society, and many partners. We were able to get 3D imaging of what was left of the building, and with a laser. And we had photographs. We had a historian who was on the board at the time. She had taken many photos inside and outside of the whole building. And they were able to layer her photographs to scale on top of the laser image of what was left of the building, and then design architectural drawings of what the building needed to, what they needed to do to rebuild the building. Then Donnie, Claire, and several people went and they salvaged buildings mostly from Indiana that were of the same time period, that 1831 to 1850 time period, and tore those buildings down. They were falling down. They were demolition by neglect. They never tore down a building that was solid. There were buildings that were coming down anyway. And so they salvaged the material from those buildings carefully because you didn't want to ruin the wood, right? And they rebuilt that building by hand based on those architectural drawings from those scanned images of right after the fire. The building was still smoldering when they started doing the images. They got that building back to the windows, the original windows that they were able to slide back into place, slid back in place within a millimeter. You have no idea what a feat that was to get that building back exactly the way it was. I remember at the reopening, you could still smell the smoke inside because the floor remained. I don't think they lost any of the floor because the fire went up, right? It's amazing what they were able to do with that building. It remains, because it's considered a restoration, it remained on the National Register and never lost its status. We fought hard to keep its status, and that is why Donnie and the guys, they used original materials, right? And salvaged everything they could and got it back to the way it needed to be. I would encourage you, and highly encourage you, to go and visit Rabbit Hash if you haven't been. They're famous for their dog mayors. They had a movie about Huckleberry Finn that was filmed on location here in Rabbit Hash. And of course, there was also another movie called Rabbit Hash, Center of the Universe. It's a very eclectic place. All of the buildings that you see are historic. Some of them have been salvaged from other places around the county and found new homes. Because after the 37 flood, a lot of the original buildings either had moved off their foundation or had been swept away completely. Again, the only reason why the store stayed where it was because it was anchored into the bedrock. And so you'll see the historic barn where you can have events, and they have bands and things come in. That was from Waterloo. The little log cabin museum, I don't remember where that came from. It was Boone County. Don salvaged it from Boone County. So there's a number of places that you can visit. Again, there's a Underground Railroad marker. They have somewhere you can eat. And there's antiques. And I don't know if there's a winery still associated with it or not. It gets very popular on the weekends. So I would encourage you to visit during the week. But yeah, you should definitely go. Once you go past, so if you're heading towards Big Bone State Park, away from Rabbit Hash, you will see the East Bend Methodist Church. It's the red church. It'll be on your right-hand side. It's one of 3 historic Methodist churches in Boone County. All 3 churches are abandoned. No one's in them right now. Rabbit Hash Historical Society under Don Clare tried to rehab this building. But of course, rehabs mean that you have to keep up on them. But the cemetery, you can't necessarily get in the building, but you can go and visit the cemetery, and I would encourage you. The back portion of the cemetery is historic, and it has been the Boone County Jail's work crew. Some of you may be familiar with their cemetery restoration project. They just got a National Association of Counties Award for their project, and so proud of them. They do a fantastic job out there. And they've been working on the cemetery. So I would encourage you to come and visit. There's also a historic marker for General ERS Canby, who was born in nearby Pyatt's Landing. So it's at the east bend of the river, right before you get to the Duke Power Plant now. And in this case, Canby was a Union general. His family during before the Civil War moved up to Indiana. The Pyatt family kind of split. The ones that stayed in Boone County were enslavers. The ones who left were abolitionists. And so his family moved north into Indiana. He was a very successful Union general. And then after the Civil War in the 1870s, he was sent out to California to do treaty negotiations with the tribes, and he and his negotiating party was they were slaughtered by Modoc Indians in California. So he had an unfortunate end, but you can see his historic marker. So even though you can't go in the building is very interesting. Again, a Methodist church, and you can kind of see what's really super interesting is if you look at the outline of the church on the slide, you can see where it had two separate doors, right? So traditionally, you had two separate doors on these types of churches, and you saw that earlier with the Baptist church. And at some point, they reconfigured it to a center doorway. And during the 1800s and early 1900s, I believe the Masonic Lodge associated with Rabbit Hash met upstairs on the second floor. And you can see where there used to be windows on the back side and things like that. Big Bone. Okay, Big Bone State Historic Site. This photo is courtesy of Kenton County Public Library. But the most important thing is that root cellar right there still standing. So before the state park was created in July 1960, you had a lot of activity, right? So Big Bone was first explored by the French in the early 1730s. The park is associated with Mary Draper Ingalls. If you're familiar with James Alexander Tom's Follow the River, she was a real person who was captured by Shawnee and taken by French fur trappers to Big Bone, where she was forced to collect salt and other things and cook for the native, the Shawnee and the French. And then she and another woman escaped about, I guess it was 1755. And she literally followed the Ohio River all the way back home. And so there's been a lot of activity. If you have never been to Big Bone, you just need to go flat out. If you never go anywhere else in Boone County, you need to go to Big Bone. So you have that history. You have during Lewis and Clark came through this area on their expedition, but both Lewis and Clark visited on behalf of Thomas Jefferson, because it's known as Big Bone because of the fossils that they have here. And so I don't know if Janine Kreinbrink has ever talked about the paleontology related to Big Bone Lick, but it's basically all the animals would come to consume salt, because all living creatures need salt in their diet. And so you get the bison trails and things coming down into Big Bone. They get stuck in the mud, so these bigger animals get mired in the mud, and they would die. And eventually, their bones would become fossilized, and that's what we see today, in the ground all through the state park. But both Thomas Jefferson was obsessed with the fossils of Big Bone. And so two separate occasions, he sent Meriwether Lewis here, I think 1803, to gather fossils. And at that time, we didn't have steamboats. So everybody came down the river on a flatboat and kept going. You couldn't go back upriver on the river. You had to pack out. So what Meriwether Lewis did was he filled this flatboat full of fossils, probably the best fossils to ever come out of this site. And Lewis sent them downriver, down past New Orleans. They had to be put on a ship to be sent through the Gulf and then up through the Caribbean and the Atlantic up towards Virginia to get back to Thomas Jefferson. Well, those fossils are at the bottom of the Gulf. Apparently they sank. They never reached Jefferson. So I believe it was 1807. Jefferson then sent William Clark to start gathering more fossils. And those are the fossils. They did reach Monticello, and those are the fossils that eventually some were sent to France that you can see in the National Museum in Paris. And there's some still at Monticello as well. And so those fossils are the basis for North American paleontology. So it's a super significant site. They have a museum there, an interpretive center. It's fantastic. And they have a herd of they actually have a herd of bison right now. So if you have little kids, it's fantastic. But if you go to this site, because not only was it, a destination for the bones, but also the sulfur and the salt springs, right? Because in the 1800s, it was believed that soaking in the mud, the salty, sulfury mud, was healthy for you. And so this was a destination for people who wanted basically a spa experience in rural Kentucky along the Ohio River. And so Big Bone Springs was this little town, and it was a destination, and people would rent houses and rent rooms and things like that. You know, a side note, if you have tuberculosis, you don't want to go soaking in wet, nasty mud. And they did. And so people actually ended up getting sicker a lot of time. But there was like 3 physicians in the Big Bone Springs area surrounding what is now the park. The park itself was owned by a man named Stuart Baker, and he was an enslaver. He was fairly well off, and he actually had 2 families. He had a white family with his wife, and then he had an enslaved family. Both families eventually lived and settled. His descendants of both families are still in Boone County today. This particular root cellar, which is one of the only historic features left within, along with their cemetery, are really the only features left within the park itself. And so if you go up past the visitor center up towards the campground, you will see, before you get to the campground gate, you will see the cemetery, and you can go visit that. It is walled, and it is next to the putt-putt. But if you go through to the campground, just past the checking gate, you will see this root cellar. And at one point, you could go down into it. because it was rebuilt to the point where you could go visit it. And I would encourage you to do so. It's huge. It's very big. So that's something that you could also do at Big Bone, which is very cool. Gaines Tavern. This is, I'm trying to go fast enough where we don't go over time a little bit, but Walton has this fantastic house museum called the Gaines Tavern. So, oh, I said this photo from the 1960s. I replaced this photo today. This is from today. This tavern is actually the second tavern on this site. This was built in 1814 by Abner Gaines, who ran the stagecoach stop here. So this is what you see is Old Lexington Pike was actually, and it's adjacent to what is now 25, right? Old Lexington Pike, which kind of dead ends now, was the route between Lexington and Covington and Cincinnati. You had to go past this house if you were coming up from Lexington or going down from Cincinnati to Lexington. And what people would do is they would not only own the taverns, they would own the stagecoaches, or they would have, a part owned stagecoaches. Because what you want to do is, if you have a tavern, you want to make sure you guarantee that people are coming to your tavern. Because where the stagecoach stopped, that's where you're staying the night, and that's where you're eating, right? You didn't really have choices. And the next tavern south of here was the Sherman Tavern out near Dry Ridge, right? So, you wanted to make sure that your people on your stagecoach got to your tavern. So not only would you have this house or the other older tavern, which was nearby, you would have a blacksmith available, somebody threw a shoe, right? Or you would have a place to put the stagecoaches, you make sure there was food. They were enslavers as well, so there was definitely enslaved who were working on the property as part of the tavern. And so you had all sorts of activities going on here. And so this was actually owned by Abner Gaines. He had several children. He had like 14 children. One of whom is your answer for your trivia question. And so there was a large family in this house for a long period of time, but they were also doing business out of here as well. There was probably separate cabins if somebody wanted somewhere private to sleep, because on the second floor there was a men's room and a women's room, right? So you were all bunking together. So if you wanted some privacy, you probably could rent your own cabin, which was probably just a one room, 8 by 8, or some sort of thing like that, just a very small cabin where you could stay. They served food on the first floor. The house was also known for Margaret Garner. And Margaret Garner, if you are familiar with the story of Toni Morrison's Beloved, about an enslaved woman who killed one of her children. And the real story is Margaret escaped from a nearby farm with her family, another property held by the Gaines family in 1856. And she got up into Cincinnati. And while she was in Cincinnati, the slave catchers and her enslaver found her in the family, and she ended up killing one of the children and attempted to kill the 3 other children so they wouldn't have to be re-enslaved. And it became a huge court case in 1856. Toni Morrison found a nugget. Beloved was created from a nugget of a story, a newspaper story from the Cincinnati Enquirer, I think, from 1870, where Margaret Garner's husband, Robert, had come back up to Cincinnati after the Civil War, and he had told his version of the story in the newspaper. And she found that newspaper article, and the historical fiction account evolved from that. Um, it, Beloved is very different from the actual story of Margaret Garner. Um, in this case, we believe she was born in the house to her mother, who is Priscilla Gaines, so held by Abner Gaines and his wife Elizabeth. We believe that Priscilla was enslaved in the house, and she worked in the tavern itself. Um, the house is notorious for um, murders in the house. I researched, I think, 10 murders and suicides and unfortunate deaths related to the house between, I believe it was uh, like 1842 and 1892. So there was like 10 murders and suicides and really, really tragic, unfortunate deaths in about 50 years of that house. And it was actually, they wrote about it in the Boone County Recorder about how tragic the history of this house was. Um, and so in the fall, they do a ghost walk that's based on the history. They do also offer, through paranormal groups, paranormal events that you can go to. So if you want to go do a ghost hunting event, they offer those. They also offer private weddings and parties and things like that. It's a beautiful house, and it's well maintained. It's currently owned by the city of Walton. And if you go to the city of Walton's website, they do offer a number of events throughout the year, especially during the summer. And I do think they have open days. I do think they charge a little bit, but they offer free visits during Christmas time. I know both the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Sons of the American Revolution have had events here as well. And again, so you can rent the house and the grounds, just like Dinsmore. This particular building, though, has a preservation easement on it, meaning that it has to be protected as a historic structure forever and always. And the easement is held by the Kentucky Heritage Council. So the state actually holds the easement on this. So anytime the city wants to do any repairs or updates to the house, it goes through a preservation process just to make sure it's appropriate. Okay, this is the last house I have. It is the George Vest House, and it is associated with Verona Vineyards. A lot of these houses that you see in Boone County, and again, there's a ton more, I promise. Um, the ones that are best kept are the ones that are what we call adaptively reused, right? They become a museum, or in this case, it's a the the property is an event venue, right? They have a winery, they have vineyards. They offer, I think, brunch on the weekend. You can just go to the property and visit and eat. They have horses in the pasture next to the restaurant, and it's just gorgeous up there. Back probably in 2018, 2017, the SAR and the Daughters of the American Revolution, they honored the Revolutionary War veteran George Vest. And there's a marker for him next to the house somewhere up here in the front of the property. And you're encouraged to go look at that as well. I don't know if they offer house tours. I believe people live in the house, so I don't think you can do that, but you can visit the property. What's interesting about this part of Boone County is that there were different veterans that settled in this area, Revolutionary War veterans, than the ones along the river, right? Your more prominent veterans, Revolutionary War veterans, the wealthier ones, they're the ones who ended up settling along the river. Um, the more inland you got, the more privates and your regular everyday infantrymen who served, they would be in these houses along the interior of Boone County. Boone County has at least 116 Revolutionary War veterans buried in Boone County. We have over 300 veterans associated with Boone County who either own land or something in the area and then left. A good example is Mary Todd Lincoln's grandfather actually at one point held the property that the Gaines Tavern is now on. He never lived here in Boone County. He was down, I believe, more towards Lexington and in that way. But there he was associated with Boone County. Um, so so all of these properties here are really interesting as far as there's such a wealth of history. If you go to a lot of these cemeteries, you'll see Revolutionary War markers dedicated to the men buried in those cemeteries. Um, and like every area of this, we didn't even get to Florence. Florence has a National Register district. Walton has a National Register district. So if you walk through those towns and visit the restaurants or the businesses, many of the businesses are in historic buildings. Um, you know, we didn't talk about Bellevue down on the river, which if you're going from Dinsmore down to Rabbit Hash, you drive through Bellevue and Mackville. Mackville was an old lock and dam from 1926, and they converted the worker housing and the lock house to they're now apartments and condos and houses, right? Um, so as you're going down along the river and in any of these areas, anywhere you turn, you see historic structures. I know Florence has a walking tour. Uh, Petersburg has a walking tour. Um, there are things that are available on our website. I think we're planning on doing more. If you have any questions or anywhere else that you would like to visit, please let me know. There's a lot to see in Boone County, and we would really love to have you come. Okay, trivia answer. Hold on. Did we get an answer?
Yes, we did. We did have a correct answer. Heather, did you want to announce who the winner was?
Yeah. So the winner was Patty Chalfant. Um, so congratulations, Patty. You'll be getting your prize in the mail.
Woohoo, Patty.
Yay! Can I talk for just a second about him?
Absolutely.
Do you have a minute? Okay. So John Pollard Gaines was one of the oldest sons of Abner Gaines, born 1795. He was a Mexican war hero and a prisoner of war, and he was elected to Congress while he was still a prisoner of war, which is amazing. He owned Maplewood Farm, which is the site of where Margaret Garner escaped. And we do believe that he was the original slaveholder of Margaret. Um, and and when he became the first Oregon's first territorial governor, and he had to move with his family to Oregon. He ended up having to leave everyone behind, including his enslaved. And so his brother Archibald purchased Maplewood Farm, which is down in the Richwood area next to Richwood Presbyterian Church, and all of the enslaved. When Margaret was on trial in Ohio for the murder of her daughter, John Pollard Gaines traveled back from Oregon to argue her case. He was one of her defense attorneys. But then he died soon after. I believe he died of typhoid fever. And apparently online there was some sort of scandal. But listen, back then, all these politicians, there was some sort of scandal, right? I mean, it just happened. But that's our answer.
Yeah, so congratulations. I did see a question that we had from Donna. She wanted to know, how did rabbit hash get its name?
So rabbit hash is super interesting because there's a lot of lore around that. The most common was that there was a flood, because there's always a flood, and that the rabbits all were flushed out and uphill. And of course, there wasn't a whole lot to eat because everybody's houses got flooded out. And basically everybody trapped rabbits or shot the rabbits, and they had to eat a lot of rabbit hash for a while because, they all lost their food stores. That's the most common story. Originally, the town was called Carlton, and it was named Carlton because I believe his name was John Carlton. Was his house was so back then you voted in precincts, kind of like you do now, but the precincts were at somebody's house. And so Carlton was named because everybody had to go vote at John Carlton's house. And so that's the original name of rabbit hash, was Carlton. And that's up through, if you look at the 1883 atlas, rabbit hash is called rabbit hash, but the precinct is called Carlton still. But the thing that I mostly heard was it was because of a flood and people needing food to eat. But by 1883 atlas, if we go back, I'm going to make don't look at this, it's going to make everybody sick. But if we look at the map, you can't really tell because it's small, but rabbit hash right here is rabbit hash is actually called rabbit hash in 1883. So the name was established really early. Any other questions?
That was the only question that I saw. Heather, did you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay, if you want to go back to your last slide, Bridget, want to make sure people have a way to contact you in case they
don't look because it's going to make you sick. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so Bridget has her email there, so you can reach her there, and her phone number. So thank you so much, Bridget, for such a wonderful presentation.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. And if you ever decide to do more on Boone County, you're welcome to come back.
Well, thank you. I have so many I can do. It's not even funny.
And I also want to say Bridget is tremendous at being a correspondent for us for our curators chats that we've been doing. She is like our go-to Boone County gal. So thank you for those. And you can check those out. Those are on our website as well, bcmuseum.org. So thanks again. Heather, could you go ahead and pull up if you stop sharing your screen, Bridget,
Yep, I will.
Pull up ours, and we've got some great things going on at the museum that we'd love to share. So we still have Treasures from the Attic, 250 years of fashion and furniture on display. That is on display through August 9th. It's a must-see for furniture, fashion, history lovers of all ages. It's part of the America 250 celebration, and the exhibit shows how style, technology, and daily life has changed over time. So I encourage you to come and check that out. Music at BCM is back this Thursday night in celebration of America 250. We have the Brotherhood Singers and Steve Bonifel and One Iota. These bands really reflect the rich traditions of American music. The doors open at 6, music begins at 7. Food will be available for purchase from Skyline Chili Erlanger, and we're also going to have sweet treats from Dreamy's Ice Cream. So that'll be a way to cool down. This weekend, we celebrate Independence Day, so we wish everyone a very happy 4th of July. As a reminder, the museum will be closed on July 4th, so our staff can celebrate the holiday with their families. We look forward to welcoming you back on Sunday, July 5th at 1 p.m. When the sun goes down, tiny fireflies light up the night. So this July, preschoolers can discover their magic at BCM. Preschoolers and their grown-ups are invited to discover the wonder of glowing little fireflies, the July session of Chippy's Sensational Kids Club. It will feature a themed story, early learning activities, and hands-on stream-based fun. Register by calling 859-491-4003. And celebrate America's 250th anniversary and Behringer-Crawford Museum's 76th birthday with our birthday bash on Saturday, July 11th from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. You can enjoy free museum admission, hands-on activities presented by a lot of our community partners, a petting zoo from Hillview Farm Mobile Petting Zoo, shopping at Behringer's Bazaar with local vendors, and we have an Edwardian fashion informed demonstration with Robert Haven from 1 to 3. It's a full day of history, community, and family fun for all ages. I also want to let everyone know that we are still looking for more vendors for the Behringer's Bazaar. So if you or someone you know would be interested in selling locally made crafts or goods, please contact our education director, Ms. Kim, at education@bcmuseum.org. And get ready to dance through time at our Treasures Ball on Saturday, July 25th. Guests will enjoy dance instructions featuring styles that span 250 years, from early ballroom favorites to dances of more recent decades. Period attire is encouraged, so dust off your favorite historical look and join the fun. Guests will also be able to have their portrait taken as a tintype photographed for an additional fee. We're going to have snacks, desserts, and a cash bar. It's adults only, $25, and you can purchase those by calling the museum at 859-491-4003. We will be back in 2 weeks on Tuesday, July 14th. So if you have a topic you would like to see on the program, please email me, Mary Jane, at communications@bcmuseum.org. I would love to hear your ideas. For more Northern Kentucky history throughout the week, check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, where you can find the latest Curators Chat, along with all of our past Northern Kentucky History Hour presentations. Please like and subscribe. That's all we have time for this evening. Thank you again to all of our sponsors and supporters of BCM. Thank you so much, Bridget, and everyone have a great night.